Hey, this is John-Angus.
And this is Colin.
We're from the Trews, and you're watching the 24 Hours podcast.
T-minus 4, 3, 2, 1.
Following is a 24 Hours podcast.
So we've got the MacDonald contingent of the Trews. How'd you guys form a band? I know it goes back a long way.
We just started out when we were, I guess I was just out of high school, and John-Angus and Jack were still in high school, and started playing around our hometown of Antigonish, just doing cover songs and playing the bars, and that went on for a few years. And eventually we just decided we wanted to take it more seriously, and we moved away and started playing around in Ontario. And then, a few more years later, we just, started making records and selling records and then doing shows and then selling out shows, and things went well, and now we're here.
The original name of the band was One-Eyed Trouser.
Yeah.
Was there some suggestion perhaps that you might want to change that name a little bit?
Yeah, we never thought we should change it. We thought it was good for some reason.
Yeah.
I can't remember why we ended up changing it, but we did change it to Trouser, and then that was taken. It turns out we got like a cease and desist in the mail from acid jazz band in Mississauga or something, and they told us that they were Trouser, and look at them now. So we changed it to the Trews, which means the same thing. So over in the UK, they think we're really lame. Be like a band from the UK coming over and calling themselves Pants.
Yeah.
We wouldn't go over that well.
They like the band, they hate the name. That's usually what we hear over there.
Was it important to move from Nova Scotia? I mean, did you have to sort of go to Toronto to kind
we needed to branch out and start feeling like the real world. And start like, when you're in a little town in the east coast of Canada, I mean, you're kind of in a bubble. And for a rock band, or an aspiring rock band, we needed to sort of know the realities of the music industry. So we kind of moved up to Ontario and made a vow not to ever work day jobs or await some elusive record deal. We just sort of said, let's go up and start playing and gigging and making money, try to pay rent and get groceries, do it kind of just take care of the small things, A lot of the bands that we were around at the time that were our age were, working at McDonald's and praying for that big deal, and every single one of them didn't really make anything of it. We just wanted to take it a gig at a time.
We were doing it the new fashion way.
Yeah.
Good old new fashion.
Yeah.
When one thinks of maritime musicians, I guess there's a lot of perceptions of fiddles and stuff. Is there a good rock and roll scene back there?
Well, there's that like post-Seattle grunge Halifax thing that went on that we missed it, like generationally. We were too young. But it was that was really vibrant, and that really brought a lot of attention down on Halifax, and they've been sort of living that out ever since. And so it's a lot of like four-piece rock bands that come out of Halifax, some good and some bad, but there's definitely lots of rock bands down there. Yeah.
A lot of good songwriting, like Joel Plaskett, and going back to like Ron Hines.
Yeah.
They take their music real seriously on the East Coast, and there's some really, really good stuff as a result.
I learned an unknown Trews fact just while we were setting up here. You guys are serious Kiss fans.
Yeah, I mean, I was before. The other guys after the Ace Frehley tour sort of came on board, but I was the only original true Kiss fan in the band before we went on tour. But by the end of it, everybody was loving Kiss. So.
Did you have posters on the wall as a kid?
No, even then, I actually was a late Kiss fan in terms of, at first I didn't really get it, but then Gordie Johnson from Big Sugar, when he was producing our first album, was kind of like, I know you can love Kiss. I can make it happen. And eventually, he just wore me down. And then I think Brad, the old keyboard player for Matt Mays, told me to buy Dress to Kill, and I would never look back, and I haven't. So I love Kiss.
Where are you on the Kiss scale?
I'm like a.
You're like an Ace Frehley.
I'm an Ace Frehley fan. I'm like a 4. No?
Yeah.
Ace is such a great guitarist and such a great presence and spirit and like person. You know what I mean? Like. Just they don't make him like him anymore. He's a one-of-a-kind type of guy, so I like him a lot.
Major accomplishment working with Jack Douglas. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we had a little bit of success with our first album, which Gordie Johnson produced, and then Sony Canada, which was just about to become Sony BMG at the time, said, well, make a wish list for your producers for your second album, and we'll see if we can get some music out to them. And Jack Douglas was one of them because we were big 70s Aerosmith fans. And he got the demo and called us back right away, which was kind of mind-blowing for a bunch of guys in their early 20s. He flew up and saw us here. at the Commodore on one of our last Canadian tours for that first album, and we went and hung out at the Georgian Court Hotel, and I think it was the Georgian Court, and we just talked about. He told us stories about John Lennon and Aerosmith, and we were just kind of in awe about that, you know. And then we, you know, kind of found some common ground musically. We just wanted to make, you know, try to make really good rock and roll, and we hoped he would help us along that path.
You guys seem to have that real typical Canadian humility, but I mean, obviously the band has really grown a lot. I mean,
this is just I'm just jet lagged. Typically, normally I'm arrogant. And,
are you?
Yeah. No, I mean we're pretty nice guys. I mean, how can you not be in Canada?
What was the rest of the question?
Yeah.
No, I'm just surprised because I mean the success has grown tremendously. I mean, you must see the reaction from the States. I mean, as your venues grow bigger and your crowds grow bigger.
Well, you know, for every plateau you reach, you look up at the next one and think, God, that's a ways away. You know, so it keeps, you know, it's been a gradual enough of an ascent for us that we can stay humble about it, because you know, you go play in, you know, Mississippi or somewhere and for like 4 people, or you know, or like it's not the same everywhere in the world, and that kind of stuff keeps you humble. But I think being humble also keeps you growing. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's our situation.
We're humbled by music too, and artistry, and people like, you know, Neil Young and like the real great artists of our time, and that keeps us wanting to keep getting better, because we don't walk around thinking that we're musical geniuses. You know, we kind of consider ourselves, for the most part, kind of like
Canadian geniuses,
students. You know, and we try to learn and try to grow from everything that's going on, and I think that's a good philosophy, because if you get to a point where you're just kind of redoing the same thing over and over again, you get really kind of stale, and it's not any fun anymore.
Great new record called No Time for Later. Do you always feel that your latest project is your best one yet, or the one you're working on is even better?
I'm starting to think about the next one. I just started to feel that after this last American tour, and I'm starting to think of a few things that I'd like to do personally from my end, lyrically and vocally, that I think I could do better. But up to this point, I think that's our best album to date. I mean, it's the one that I still listen to, and it's been. I mean, we've had that in the can since like July of '07 or August of '07. So, you know, I've listened to it quite a bit, and I still really like it. So I think the production's awesome, and I think the songs are really good.
I always like asking bands, when you're working as a group, can bands be a democracy, or does it end up being a dictatorship to some degree?
It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. There's got to be at least some idea of where you want to go musically, and that usually comes from one guy, in the sense of like what he wants to sing about, you know. And I tend to write all the lyrics, so I usually dictate what topics that we're going to be singing about. But other than that, I think musically, it's, you know, John-Angus and Sean put a lot in. Jack lends a lot to like the style and the little special little things about the recordings that no one else could ever come up with. He's a pretty unique character. I mean, I guess artistically we're a democracy in that sense.
And so you're the songwriter. So basically, the political commentary sort of comes more.
Lyrically, I handle most of that. Right. So, it usually comes from me. I'm the instigator.
And have you been courting some controversy on this
show? I mean, as we hoped. You know, I mean, like we want people to hear it. You know, we don't want to be the not ready to go band. We want people to listen to the music and have a reaction to it. You know, and if you can write a song where people go like, oh, who the fuck does he think he is? But other people will be out there saying like, well, no, I agree with him. And that's what's happened with songs like Gun Control, which are pretty blatant, over-the-top political kind of statements. But I figured, you know, with something like these school shootings that are going on, it's not like it just happened once and I'm kind of grandstanding or acting arrogant. It's like it was like for a while there, it seemed to be happening once or twice every month, you know, and it was like ridiculous. And then I think a song that overt is kind of called for in that situation. You know, it's just like, all right, fuck this. No one else is saying this. And it's really something I believe in. And I think a lot of people believe in it. And I think a lot of people are just wondering, why do you want to talk about why certain guys are psychologically tormented, or what kind of, if they were picked on at school? And you're like, well, no, don't give anybody a gun with, you know, just as long as he doesn't get a gun, then things will be all right. You know, I'd like to see him try to do that with a baseball bat, you know. So. Well, enjoy the show. Welcome back to Vancouver, and good luck hopefully hooking up with Gene Simmons. All right.
Let's see what happens.
Cool.
24hours.ca